Dr. Franklin Graham is bidding farewell, leaving many wondering why this influential figure is stepping back. From his rebellious youth to his global ministry impact, Graham has inspired millions.
Graham died in 2018 at his home in Montreat at the age of 99. His son, Franklin Graham, CEO of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse.
Dr. William Franklin Graham, the third of his names, an infamous religious personality among Christian circles, gave a heartbreak to the world and left us at the age of 72, left millions of people shocked. We will disclose the secrets behind his controversial yet impactful persona and his shocking steps taken during his lifespan. Before we reveal the tearful reason behind his sudden demise, let's uncover the hidden secrets of his rebellious age against religion. From an unhappy, alone boy to a powerful ministry leader, William Franklin went through the hurdles of life. Franklin's early life persona. Franklin was born on July 14, 1952, to Billy Graham, a father deeply rooted in a religious Christian tradition. Their home was a hub for many famous Christian personalities and missionaries, resembling the best example of a religious house enriched with Christian practices, which created an environment rich in faith. Yet, despite this upbringing, Franklin developed a rebellious and self-centered nature. He finds no peace in religion. He continued to grow up with minimum church visits. But soon as he hit puberty, he changed his habits. As a teenager, he found himself drawn to late nights filled with drinking, smoking, and partying. Although he aspired to attend a Christian boarding school, he didn't fit in and was ultimately expelled. College became a turbulent time for him. He gained notoriety for his reckless behavior, getting into fights and speeding through the streets of Carolina. The life he led was a stark contrast to the values he was raised with, leaving him feeling empty and unfulfilled. Though he believed in God, Franklin sought freedom over faith. He craved the thrill of life, indulging in pleasures that seemed to fill the void inside him. But with each bad choice, that emptiness grew, culminating in a profound sense of discontent by the age of 22. One night in Jerusalem, Franklin set out for a drink, but ended up reading the Gospel of John. That alone night was an unplanned happening in his pre-planned life. The words of the Gospel struck a chord within him, leading him to confront his sins and the reasons for his unhappiness. He realized that God was not the one responsible for his inside loneliness. It was his sins that let him down in all ways. He got to know that he would not find peace in rebelling against God. In that moment, he kneeled down and prayed, seeking a new path. This marked a turning point in his life. He aimed to embrace the teachings of Christianity and transform his existence. Franklin's journey from rebellion to redemption illustrates the struggle between desire and faith. He aimed to change his life, and he started taking actions. He transformed his heart during this life-changing moment, and he decided to handle life without being credited as the son of a famous evangelist. Now he wanted to be another evangelist following his father's legacy. Franklin Graham began his journey in evangelism while still an undergraduate, driven by a growing desire to understand his purpose in life. His first significant mission outside the state was alongside Bob Pierce, the founder of World Vision, known for his deep commitment to helping the poor and spreading the gospel. This experience opened Franklin's heart and clarified his calling to serve humanity. As he traveled and preached, he dedicated countless hours to studying the Bible, immersing himself in its teachings. He found the scriptures relatable, recognizing their relevance in everyday life. During this period, Franklin faced challenges, but also moments of inspiration that strengthened his faith. He sought to understand how to live out the principles of Christianity, applying them in practical ways to help others.
The left, the socialists, have made it very clear that they stand against the church. Unless we bow down and accept their agenda as it relates to the LGBTQ agenda.
This time of exploration and dedication shaped his future, setting the stage for a life committed to spreading hope and compassion to those in need. Franklin's early efforts marked the beginning of a lifelong mission to serve and uplift others through faith. This new transformed heart finds its peace in Samaritan's Purse for the purpose of serving ministry lifelong. Commitment to ministry and involvement with Samaritan's Purse. Franklin Graham's journey as a leader in humanitarian efforts began when he took the helm of Samaritan's Purse following the passing of Bob Pierce, the organization's founder. Under Franklin's leadership, Samaritan's Purse transformed from a small, dedicated charity into an international organization renowned for its commitment to serving those in need. This transformation was marked by a significant expansion of programs addressing poverty, war, and famine across the globe. Inspired by his travels, Franklin embarked on missions to places in Asia plagued by devastation. Witnessing the harsh realities of poverty and the suffering caused by conflict and natural disasters ignited his ambition to spread Christ's love far and wide. He envisioned a world where help was not just a handout, but a meaningful outreach grounded in faith and compassion. Samaritan's Purse became known for its innovative and impactful programs. From providing food and medical assistance to setting up emergency shelters, the organization has touched countless lives. Franklin's leadership ensured that each project was not only a response to immediate needs, but also an opportunity to share the message of hope found in the gospel. Teams of dedicated volunteers and staff worked tirelessly, embodying the spirit of service that Franklin championed. Franklin himself has traveled extensively, reaching out to communities in crisis and sharing his message of faith. His commitment to living out the teachings of the Bible is evident in every initiative Samaritan's Purse undertakes. Whether it's through disaster relief efforts or long-term development projects, Franklin emphasizes the importance of not only meeting physical needs, but also addressing spiritual ones. His approach was thoughtful and inclusive, aiming to demonstrate the love of Christ through action. Franklin believes that every act of kindness can be a reflection of God's grace, and he encourages his team to serve with a heart full of compassion. Through programs like Operation Christmas Child, which delivers shoeboxes filled with gifts to children in need, Franklin has effectively combined tangible help with spiritual nourishment. In every corner of the world, Franklin Graham has shown that faith can inspire real change. His efforts to spread biblical teachings extend beyond words. They manifest in the lives transformed through the work of Samaritan's Purse. By prioritizing outreach and humanitarian aid, he has made it clear that serving others is a fundamental expression of faith. Franklin's passion for helping those in dire situations continues to drive him and the organization forward. His commitment to spreading Christ's message is unwavering, and he firmly believes that the love of God can heal wounds, restore hope, and bring joy to the brokenhearted. Through Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham remained a beacon of hope, demonstrating how faith and action can come together to make a lasting impact on humanity.
A number of ministries and churches have been working with waves of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border this year, providing shelter, food, clothing, and comfort. Humanitarian Franklin Graham announced this week that Samaritan's Purse is responding to the crisis.
Effects of Franklin Graham's festivals on evangelical outreach. In a world often filled with uncertainty and despair, the message of hope and faith stands as a beacon for many. Franklin Graham has dedicated his life to spreading this message through a remarkable series of evangelistic outreach efforts. His passion is evident in the 325 events held across the United States, known as crusades. These gatherings have become vital spaces for sharing the gospel and revitalizing Christian communities. Franklin's crusades attract thousands, offering a mix of powerful preaching and uplifting performances by well-known artists. Each event is carefully crafted to create an inviting atmosphere where individuals can encounter the message of Christ. The music, often performed by talented singers and bands, sets the tone, drawing people in and fostering a sense of community. During these gatherings, Franklin shares the teachings of the Bible, encouraging attendees to reflect on their faith and take steps toward a deeper relationship with God. As the meetings unfold, Franklin's words resonate with those in attendance. They often conclude with an invitation for people to accept Christ, providing a moment of decision that can change lives forever. Many who attend these events find renewed strength in their faith, especially in areas where Christianity has been dwindling. For them, these crusades serve as a powerful reminder that they are not alone, igniting a spark of hope and revival. In addition to in-person events, Franklin has embraced modern technology to reach a wider audience. Through social media and live streaming, he has adapted his outreach efforts, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when traditional gatherings were limited. His online sermons and virtual events have provided comfort and inspiration to countless individuals seeking connection and guidance during challenging times. By harnessing the power of the internet, Franklin Graham has ensured that the message of Christ continues to spread, reaching people who might not otherwise have the opportunity to hear it. His dedication to evangelism, both in person and online, illustrates a profound commitment to sharing the gospel in every possible way. Through these efforts, Franklin not only uplifts Christian communities, but also invites many to discover the life-changing love of Jesus Christ. Franklin Graham's step to use modern technology for the preaching of the gospel gathered many new followers from around the globe, especially youth who are more into social media and streaming networks. In an ever-evolving world, Franklin Graham has embraced modern technology to amplify his outreach mission and connect with people like never before. By leveraging social media and live streaming, he has transformed the way the gospel is shared, ensuring that the message of Christ reaches a diverse and global audience. This innovative approach has attracted many non-English speakers through translation services, allowing them to engage with Christianity in their own languages. Franklin has skillfully shifted from his father's traditional methods to meet the demands of today's society, using these tools to spread hope and faith in a way that resonates with younger generations. His festivals have become pivotal moments for young people seeking a connection with God. These events were not just gatherings, they were experiences that foster a sense of community and belonging. Attendees leave feeling empowered and inspired, often reflecting on social and moral issues in their lives. Franklin's dedication to addressing these challenges through his teachings has left a lasting impact, showing that faith can guide them through difficult times, including natural disasters and personal struggles.
Evangelist Franklin Graham says he has taken the COVID-19 vaccine and is urging others to do so as well. According to a Pew survey, a little more than half, 54% of white evangelicals say they will definitely.
As president of Samaritan's Purse, Franklin has committed himself to humanitarian work that goes beyond temporary relief. His evangelical legacy is marked by a deep concern for human suffering, and he has taken action during some of the most challenging crises. For instance, after the devastating earthquake in Haiti in 2010, Franklin's organization was on the ground, providing critical support and resources. Samaritan's Purse set up medical clinics, distributed food, and offered shelter to thousands left homeless by the quake. They worked tirelessly, ensuring that aid reached those most in need, demonstrating that their mission was about long-term recovery and restoration, not just short-term relief. Franklin's commitment to helping others extends beyond Haiti. He has been a steadfast advocate for Syrian war refugees, providing assistance in countries like Jordan and Lebanon. Through Samaritan's Purse, he ensured that these vulnerable families received essential aid, including food, clean water, and medical care. This humanitarian outreach not only met immediate needs, but also created opportunities for conversations about faith, inspiring many to explore Christianity as they experience compassion in action. The proper distribution of aid, often in collaboration with international NGOs, underscores Franklin's commitment to effective humanitarian work. His organization carefully coordinates with local partners to ensure that resources are utilized efficiently and reach those who need them most. This thorough approach not only maximizes the impact of their efforts, but also builds trust within communities, encouraging many to consider the teachings of Christ as they witness acts of kindness and generosity. Through every initiative, Franklin Graham has shown that faith and action can go hand in hand. His innovative use of technology, combined with a genuine desire to serve, has inspired countless individuals to draw closer to Christianity. By addressing both spiritual and physical needs, he demonstrates that the love of God is not just a message to be preached, but a lifestyle to be lived. Franklin's work continues to resonate with people around the world, proving that when compassion meets faith, lives can be transformed. Between all these wars and misery in the world, a ray of light emerges when Franklin's Operation Christmas Child shows up. This brought joy and laughter to all the children worldwide, one shoebox at a time.
Thousands of boxes line the pews in one sanctuary at First Bossier.
It's part of the annual effort to support Operation Christmas Child. The boxes are filled with toys, hygiene items, and school supplies. They'll be delivered to more than 100 countries.
Operation Christmas Child Initiative. Operation Christmas Child has blossomed into a remarkable movement since its inception in 1993. What began as a simple idea to provide gifts for children in need has transformed into a global initiative that brings joy and hope to millions. The concept was born when a British businessman, Dave Cook, reached out to Franklin Graham with the idea of sending shoeboxes filled with gifts to children affected by war and poverty. This collaboration sparked a passion for giving that has grown exponentially over the years. In its early days, the effort focused on collecting shoebox gifts filled with essential items and toys. Volunteers gathered in local communities, schools, and churches, packing boxes with items like hygiene supplies, school materials, and fun gifts such as stuffed animals and toys. Each shoebox was carefully assembled to bring delight and surprise to its young recipient. When children opened these boxes, their faces lit up with joy, making it clear that these simple gifts were more than just objects. They were symbols of love and care from across the world. The beauty of Operation Christmas Child lies not only in the gifts themselves, but also in the way they serve as a gateway for sharing the gospel. Each box includes a booklet that presents the message of Jesus in a way that children can understand. Volunteers often take the time to explain the significance of these gifts, fostering conversations about faith and love. The initiative encourages recipients to see that they are valued and remembered, opening their hearts to the message of Christ. As Operation Christmas Child expanded, the logistics of gathering and packing shoeboxes became more organized. Churches, schools, and community groups across the globe host packing parties, where individuals come together to fill boxes with care. These events foster a sense of community as people of all ages unite for a common purpose. The excitement of filling a shoebox, knowing it will bring joy to a child far away, creates a powerful sense of connection and purpose. Despite its success, Operation Christmas Child has faced critiques over the years. Some argue that sending gifts can overshadow local efforts to support communities and promote sustainable change. Critics worry that it may lead to dependency rather than empowerment. However, defenders of the program emphasize that the shoebox gifts provide immediate joy and connection, serving as a bridge to deeper discussions about faith and hope. They highlight that the initiative does not replace local efforts. Rather, it complements them by engaging individuals in meaningful service and encouraging them to share the love of Christ. The success of Operation Christmas Child is evident in the millions of shoeboxes packed and distributed annually. Each box carries with it a story of compassion and generosity, and the impact extends far beyond the gifts themselves. Children who receive these shoeboxes often share their experiences with friends and family, spreading the message of hope even further. This ripple effect highlights the program's ability to connect people from different backgrounds, united by a common desire to make a difference. In summary, Operation Christmas Child stands as a testament to the power of simple acts of kindness. It not only brings joy to children around the world, but also fosters an opportunity to share the gospel in a tangible way. By turning shoebox gifts into vehicles of hope and love, Franklin Graham and Samaritan's Purse have created a movement that continues to inspire generosity and faith across the globe. As Franklin entered his teenage years, the weight of his family's expectations began to take a toll. He began to push back against the strict religious environment he had been raised in. This wasn't just typical teenage rebellion. It was deeper, more personal. Franklin's defiance was a way of distancing himself from the towering figure of his father and the overwhelming expectations that came with being Billy Graham's son. He felt trapped in a world that had already defined him before he even had the chance to define himself. While many of his peers were grappling with the usual teenage struggles, Franklin was wrestling with the enormity of his family's legacy. It was as if his life had already been mapped out for him, preaching, ministry, and continuing his father's mission. But Franklin wasn't ready to embrace that path. He wanted to find his own way, to discover who he was outside the shadow of Billy Graham. this internal conflict led him down a path of rebellion, one that took him far from the values he had been raised with. Franklin's rebellion wasn't just a mild phase, it was a complete rejection of the faith and teachings that had been central to his upbringing. He began experimenting with behaviors that shocked those around him, behaviors that stood in stark contrast to the Christian values his parents had instilled in him. His actions during this period weren't just a rejection of his faith, but also a rejection of the life that seemed to have been preordained for him. He was testing boundaries, seeking freedom, and attempting to distance himself from the immense pressure that came with his family name. As Franklin's behavior grew more reckless, the consequences soon followed. His refusal to adhere to the rules and authority figures in his life ultimately led to his expulsion from Stony Brook School, a prestigious boarding school in New York. His parents, who had done everything they could to guide him, were left devastated by this outcome. Franklin's expulsion was not just a disciplinary measure, it symbolized a low point in his young life, where his rebellion had reached its peak. Franklin's academic performance also suffered during this time. He bounced from school to school, struggling to stay focused and motivated. It seemed that his life was heading in a direction that no one had expected. Franklin was drifting further from the faith-filled life his parents had envisioned for him. He appeared lost, uninterested in his future, and detached from the legacy his family had worked so hard to build. At this point, many questioned whether Franklin would ever return to the faith. Could the son of Billy Graham, the world's most famous evangelist, be lost to a life far removed from the spiritual legacy of his family? For a time, it seemed like Franklin was on a path that would lead him even further from the Christian life his parents had hoped he would embrace. Yet despite the pain and disappointment his family felt, Franklin's story was far from over. His rebellion, though intense, was part of a journey that would eventually lead to a profound spiritual transformation. What no one knew at the time was that Franklin's rebellion was not the end, but rather the beginning of a path that would eventually lead him back to the faith he had once rejected. A life-changing moment in Jerusalem. Something incredible happened. At the age of 22, Franklin took a trip that would change his life forever. He visited Jerusalem, the city that holds deep significance for Christians around the world. It wasn't some grand, dramatic moment, but rather a quiet, deeply personal experience that transformed him from the inside out. While in the Holy City, Franklin began reading the Gospel of John. He had heard the Bible all his life, but this time the words struck him in a way they never had before. In John 3:3, Jesus says, "Unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God." This passage, which speaks about spiritual rebirth, hit Franklin like a bolt of lightning. Imagine that moment. A young man, lost in rebellion, suddenly realizing that the faith he had been rejecting his entire life was real, personal, and transformational. It wasn't just about following rules or living up to expectations. It was about having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Franklin understood that he needed to be born again, to start over, and leave behind the mistakes of his past. Could it really be this simple? Could he turn away from the rebellious life he had been living and start fresh? This realization marked a pivotal turning point for Franklin Graham. From that moment on, his life began to change. The partying, the rebellion, all of it faded away as Franklin made the decision to fully commit to his faith. But now that he had rediscovered his faith, the question remained: what would he do with it? Evangelism and humanitarian work. Franklin's spiritual transformation set him on a new path, but it wasn't immediately clear where that path would lead. He didn't want to simply walk in his father's footsteps out of obligation. He needed to find his own calling, his own purpose. Slowly but surely, Franklin became more involved with the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, the organization his father had founded. He began learning the ropes of evangelism and ministry. But there was something else pulling at him, something beyond just preaching. That pull came in the form of Bob Pierce, the founder of Samaritan's Purse, a Christian humanitarian organization dedicated to providing aid to those in desperate need. Franklin deeply admired Pierce's approach to ministry, which wasn't just about preaching. It was about doing. It was about putting faith into action by helping those who needed it most, whether through food, medical care, or disaster relief. In 1973, Franklin accompanied Pierce on a mission trip that would change his life forever. For the first time, Franklin saw the suffering of people in war-torn and poverty-stricken regions up close. He witnessed the despair of people who lacked even the most basic necessities of life. This experience opened his eyes to the idea that faith wasn't just about words. It was about action. It became clear to Franklin that his calling was not only to share the gospel, but to also serve people in practical, tangible ways. This new understanding of his mission changed the course of his life. His focus expanded beyond preaching the word to putting his faith into practice by addressing human suffering around the world. Through his partnership with Samaritan's Purse, Franklin began to develop a dual approach, combining evangelism with humanitarian aid. This allowed him to serve both the spiritual and physical needs of the people he encountered. Leading Samaritan's Purse. When Bob Pierce passed away, Franklin took over leadership of Samaritan's Purse at just 26 years old, a daunting task for someone so young. Some questioned whether Franklin was ready for the responsibility, but he quickly proved them wrong. Under Franklin's leadership, Samaritan's Purse grew into a global organization that has responded to crises in some of the world's most dangerous and impoverished areas. Franklin's vision for Samaritan's Purse wasn't just to continue Pierce's legacy, but to expand it. He wanted the organization to be at the forefront of disaster relief and humanitarian aid, reaching more people than ever before. And under his guidance, that vision became a reality. Whether it was providing aid after earthquakes in Haiti, helping refugees in war zones, or bringing clean water to communities devastated by drought, Franklin led with a hands-on approach. One of Franklin's most notable contributions was the Operation Christmas Child initiative. What started as a small project delivering shoeboxes filled with gifts to children in need has now grown into a worldwide effort that reaches millions of children every year. These shoeboxes, filled with toys, school supplies, and personal care items, also carry a message of love and hope. For many of these children, it's the first time they feel seen and cared for. But Franklin's leadership style is what sets him apart. He doesn't just direct operations from a distance, he gets involved. When disaster strikes, whether it's an earthquake, a hurricane, or a refugee crisis, Franklin is on the ground, overseeing the relief efforts firsthand. His hands-on approach has earned him a reputation as a leader who not only talks about service but lives it. Controversies. However, Franklin Graham's journey hasn't been without its challenges. Over the years, his outspoken political views have stirred controversy, particularly his support for Donald Trump and his strong stance on issues like same-sex marriage and immigration. Franklin hasn't been afraid to speak his mind, even when it means alienating parts of the public. This has led to a significant divide between those who support him for standing firm in his beliefs and those who feel he has strayed too far into the political arena. Was this the right path for someone carrying on the Graham legacy? Some have argued that Franklin's approach contrasts sharply with his father's. Billy Graham, known for his inclusive preaching, famously avoided political endorsements, focusing solely on spreading the gospel to as many people as possible. Franklin's decision to align more closely with certain political causes has caused friction, even within his own family. But Franklin remains steadfast. He believes that in today's increasingly secular world, standing up for biblical values is more important than ever, no matter how divisive it might be. Franklin's stances on issues such as same-sex marriage and LGBTQ+ rights have particularly sparked debate.
Oh, I'm sure there's some merit to that argument, but you have to go back to what does God say? And it's not what I say at all. It's what God says, Pierce, and God is the one who defined marriage.
His belief that marriage should be defined as a union between a man and a woman, based on his understanding of biblical teachings, has drawn both support and sharp criticism. While many within the evangelical community rally behind him, his public comments have been met with backlash from progressive groups who view his positions as exclusionary. This has created a complex narrative around Franklin, a man who sees himself as defending traditional Christian values in a modern world that often conflicts with them. Another area of contention has been his views on immigration. Franklin has voiced support for stricter immigration policies and has advocated for measures that ensure national security. At the same time, Samaritan's Purse continues to provide aid to refugees and migrants, regardless of their background or religion. Critics have pointed to this tension, questioning how Franklin reconciles his humanitarian work with his political stances. For Franklin, however, these positions are not mutually exclusive. He sees them as part of a broader effort to balance compassion with the need for safety and order. One particularly controversial moment came when Franklin spoke out in favor of President Trump's travel ban, which restricted entry to the U.S. from several Muslim-majority countries. While he defended the policy as necessary for national security, many saw it as contradictory to the mission of Samaritan's Purse, which has provided aid to Muslim communities worldwide. This move further polarized public opinion, with supporters lauding Franklin for his unapologetic defense of American security and critics accusing him of betraying the humanitarian values his organization stood for. Additionally, Franklin's remarks on Islam have also sparked significant backlash. He has made several statements over the years labeling Islam as a violent religion, which led to outcry from interfaith groups and civil rights organizations. Many felt that such comments undermined efforts to build bridges between religious communities, particularly in regions where Samaritan's Purse operates. Despite the criticism, Franklin has remained firm, often doubling down on his remarks, citing concerns over radicalization and extremism. Beyond his views on Islam, Franklin has been vocal about what he perceives as a growing hostility toward Christianity in America.
Franklin Graham is the son of evangelist Billy Graham. He is also a minister and a vocal leader who recently announced the Decision America Tour 2016. It's a call for Christians across the nation to pray and live out biblical principles at home, in public, and at the ballot box.
In numerous public appearances, he has voiced concerns that Christians are being marginalized and persecuted for holding traditional views on issues like marriage and gender. He has argued that religious freedom is under threat, especially in the context of debates over LGBTQ+ rights. Graham has positioned himself as a defender of Christian values, even when these positions are seen as controversial by mainstream society. To his supporters, this boldness is exactly what they admire about him. They see a man unafraid to stand against the cultural currents of secularism. On the topic of same-sex marriage, Franklin's views have been unwavering. He has repeatedly stated that marriage is and should only be defined as between a man and a woman. This stance has drawn sharp criticism from LGBTQ+ advocates who argue that such views are outdated and discriminatory. In response, Franklin has framed the issue as one of biblical faithfulness, insisting that his views are rooted in Scripture and cannot be compromised. This, however, has led to boycotts of his events and criticism from progressive Christian groups who believe that his hardline stances alienate people from the very gospel message he seeks to share. One of the more contentious episodes in Franklin's public life occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic. As the pandemic unfolded, Franklin and Samaritan's Purse set up emergency field hospitals in New York City's Central Park to help overwhelmed healthcare facilities. Despite the organization's humanitarian intentions, their involvement drew sharp criticism because of Franklin's past comments on LGBTQ+ issues. Activists questioned the inclusivity of the aid being offered and whether LGBTQ+ individuals would receive equal treatment.
You spoke with Franklin Graham yesterday because a lot of competing narratives going on about the Samaritan's Purse field hospital that they announced that they're going to be heading out of there here in the coming days because of a reduced amount of patients.
Although Franklin assured the public that Samaritan's Purse serves everyone, regardless of their background, the controversy underscored the divisive nature of his public stances. Despite these controversies, Franklin Graham's influence remains strong within evangelical circles. Many view him as a leader unafraid to speak truth, even when it's unpopular. For Franklin, the mission remains clear: standing up for biblical principles in an increasingly complex world. Now, after decades of leading both the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and Samaritan's Purse, Franklin is at a crossroads. Health concerns, the immense weight of his responsibilities, and the natural passage of time have led him to consider stepping back. But what will happen to the organizations he has built? Who will take over the leadership roles he has held for so long? As Franklin prepares for this next chapter, the future of his mission remains uncertain. Will Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association continue to thrive under new leadership? Or will the next generation struggle to fill the enormous shoes Franklin is leaving behind? One thing is for sure, Franklin Graham's impact will continue to be felt for years to come. Whether through the millions of people he has helped in times of crisis, or the countless lives he has touched with his message of faith, Franklin's legacy is secure. If this story has sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights into the lives of influential figures who have shaped the world.